I cannot really read your mind, but I'm sure you're wondering where the fuck the book wrap up for last month is, since it is the middle of July and I still haven't filmed it. And the answer is, it's too fucking hot to do anything in the daytime. Yes, it is 37 degrees in Rome and doing anything is hard. And I also started working, so time is very, very little. But I am finally doing this because the more I procrastinate it, the worse. So welcome to the book wrap up for June 2026. If you're new here, hello, my name is Angelo. Currently doing a booktube challenge during this year called the Reader's Gauntlet, which was created and hosted by Baze Reads, whose channel I'm gonna link down below. So what this challenge is, it gives you prompts to read from, and there are different challenges within it with prompts and a certain number of books that you have to read. So as I'm telling you which books I read this month, which were 6 by the way, so a really, really huge number for me, I will also explain how I used these books in regarding to the challenge, in which prompts, and also which I couldn't fill because it's getting tight in here. And frankly, I don't think that I can do this any longer without actually targeting my reads towards the different challenges that I need to complete. So let's begin. I will move a little bit on this side so I can put the cover on here, and I'm gonna introduce quickly with a little summary the first book that I finished during this month, which was Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. So I'm pretty sure this is a Lithuanian author. World War II is drawing to a close in East Prussia, and thousands of refugees are on a desperate trek toward freedom, many with something to hide. Among them are Joanna, Emilia, and Florian, whose paths converge en route to the ship that promises salvation. Just when it seems freedom is within their grasp, tragedy strikes. Not country, nor culture, nor status matter, as all 10,000 people, adults and children alike, must fight for the same thing: survival. So this is historical fiction, and it is telling the story of something that truly happened and nobody really talks about, which I appreciated and I was really drawn to at the beginning. And so when this book was available on Libby, I jumped to it. So yes, I did listen to this on audiobook. I gave this book a rating of 3.5 stars, which is not the best rating. I did enjoy the writing. I think the writing was really, really good. The flow of the book really worked for me. I didn't think there was any problem with the pacing. What I didn't enjoy, which took basically half of what's in the story, is the romance, which was very, very prominent. It was, again, almost half of the book. It was these two people falling in love and they're flirting and they're finding each other, and just like stuff I did not expect nor want to read in a novel like this. I was really drawn to the aspects of the tragedy, like what happened and how the victims were first experiencing the cultural and social context of the time, so World War II, and also how they experienced the tragedy and what came to it. Not the romance. It's not something that I enjoy most of the time, but if it is well done and also properly sized, I can enjoy. This was not, in my opinion. So the rating is because of that. As for the challenges I use this book for the trope tracker, which is a challenge that of course prompts you to read more tropes in books. And the one I used this book for was the forced proximity. As you could imagine from the synopsis that I gave you, these 3-4 people are brought together not really willingly, but because they're all aiming at salvation and escape. So I think this was what I could mostly correlate to this to this trope. I usually do not like books where tropes are like the main part, and so I'm trying to squeeze as much as I can on this, and I hope you can forgive me on this. as I was saying, the challenge is getting really hard. So I couldn't find a second prompt to put this book on, because one of the rules is that you are allowed to use the same book for 2 different prompts. But as for most of these books, I couldn't. What I read next was an arc. This is by Emma Osborne, who wrote this novella. It's not necessarily a book, but it's a very short novella that takes place after the death of our main character, Christina, who rises from her violent death, but she's not the same fragile woman her family once abandoned. She is rageful, powerful, and hungry for the blood of the ones who were supposed to love her. With a newfound craving to see vengeance and grief served, she launches into a once-in-a-undead lifetime journey across blood-slicked highways to the scorched Australian bush and her own town. As her body fails and her mind fractures, she's left with one final question. Is she here to forgive or to feed? So it is a zombie book, and this ignited the need of going back to my apocalyptic era. I was obsessed with The Walking Dead when I was growing up, and all of the post-apocalyptic media I used to love and enjoy, and I stopped reading and consuming it at some point for God knows what reason. But thankfully I found this novella, which I gave 4 stars to. I thought it was incredible. I thought the writing was really smart, and it was really funny as well sometimes, but at the same time it kind of, oh my god, it was really good. I really enjoyed the vengeance and the revenge aspects of this book, which were really satisfying to read and just like really rewarding, I would say. So being a novella, I could binge this, and there is a challenge on this that is called the binge read challenge, which prompts you to, of course, binge as many books as you can. You are supposed to binge 3, and this was my final one. This was my 3rd, because again, being a novella didn't really take a lot of time. And so we complete one of the challenges like this. As for the second prompt, there is a challenge called the creature feature, which prompts you to read a book for each of the creatures listed. I'm pretty sure this is a flexible challenge, so you don't have to stay like strict with the creatures, but as long as you read 6 different ones, I think it's okay. That's what I'm doing. So this of course occupies the spot for zombies, bringing me to 3 out of 6. After that, the Tarot Readathon of 2026 started, and so I managed to start reading 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. If you've been on this channel lately, you know that I just finished the Grishaverse, the original trilogy, and so when I pulled a tarot card, which by the way I have a vlog on, so if you want to go check that out, but essentially I needed to pull 1 tarot card for each new read, and based on the prompt of that card I could pick my next read. And so since I got a card that prompted me to read about a group of friends, or like a cast of characters, 6 of Crows came straight to mind. So this is a story of 6 dangerous outcasts, 1 impossible heist. Kaz's new crew is the only thing that might stand between the world and destruction if they don't kill each other first. This was such a delightful discovery, something that everybody talks about, but I still hadn't read because I did wanted to finish the original trilogy first, and I think that was the best decision I could make. I ended up giving this book 4.75 stars, which was almost 5 stars, but the problem that I personally have with Leigh Bardugo, the author, the pace of the book. The chapters are really long, and it makes the experience a little bit less rewarding and more time consuming than I would like. Therefore, this was the only problem I had with this book, because the characters were exquisite, and I do talk more about this read on a different vlog, which again is linked in the bio. As you can see, I enjoyed this book so much that I had to get a copy. I started reading this, I actually finished this on my Kobo, and loved this so much that when I jumped into the next book, I had to just own a copy of it. And thankfully there is a challenge called the Shelf Trophy Challenge, which prompts you to buy books only after you've read them and appreciated them, which is what happened with this. bringing me to 2 out of 3. Also, what's really important in this challenge for me, because I still haven't really made much progress in it yet, is the series staircase. The series staircase, of course, prompts you to read every kind of series, so a standalone, a duology, and so on. This is the first book in a duology, so it occupies the first spot of the duology, bringing us to 3 out of a lot. My next read was, yes, chosen by the tarot card, but also by my book club. We kind of switched up the way we choose the book. Now we don't do polls anymore, but very conveniently we do spinning wheels, and the spinner wheel for this month chose Milk Fed by Melissa Broder. This is a compelling story about Rachel, who is 24, and she is a lapsed Jew who has made calorie restriction her religion. By day, she maintains an illusion of existential control through obsessive food rituals. Rachel is content to carry on subsiding until her therapist encourages her to take a 90-day communication detox from her mother, who raised her in the tradition of calorie counting. Rachel soon meets Miriam, a young Orthodox Jewish who works at a frozen yogurt shop and is intent upon feeding her. Rachel is suddenly and powerfully entranced by Miriam, and as the two grow closer, Rachel embarks as a journey marked by mirrors, mysticism, mothers, milk, and honey. So this was a very particular read. It is a book that, going into it, I expected to be very, very heavy, and it really was. And personally, I loved the way the author spoke about the themes in this book, such as eating disorders, but also religions and morality, especially when you're dating or like seeing a person whose family is very against those morals. And I think the author really did a great job at transforming those thoughts into pages and into the story, which again was really, really compelling. My problem that I had with this book simply was the sex scenes, which were they were a lot, in my opinion, too many. I think it was unnecessary, and we could have done it without, because simply without those scenes, or at least half of them, because I do think that some of them were important to our character and to understand her better, and her issues with her mother, but most of them were not really necessary to the story and kind of downgraded what I thought of this book, which I still haven't really given a star rating yet, but I think I'm gonna settle on 3.75. Again, we chose this using a spinner wheel, and there is a spinner wheel challenge on this, which is called the spinner wheel challenge. And since this is the first book that we choose via this method, this is only taking the first spot in this challenge, bringing us to 1 out of 3. Again, unfortunately, I could only use this book once in the challenge. The next book that I finished was, thankfully, Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is book 2 and the final in the duology of the Six of Crows. I cannot really, for obvious reasons, tell you what this book is about because it is a sequel, but this follows the same group of characters. What really, really surprised me and made me happy was that we got another POV that was missing in the first one, which I really, really appreciated. I gave this book a 4.75. Again, the same problem was the pacing, but everything else, the twist, the characters, they were amazing. I really think that her character work in this was just amazing, incredible. The prompts I used this book for, of course, was the series staircase, which completes our duology little box, and the second prompt that I used this book for was for the trope tracker, because there is a quest in this, so I think that was just perfect. Next, I got to listen to We Used to Live Here by Markus Kliewer, that talks about a young queer couple who flip houses. Charlie and Eve move into this new house. As they're working in the house, one day there's a knock on the door, and a man stands there with his family, claiming to have lived there years before, and asking if it would be alright if he showed his kids around. People pleaser to a fault, Eve lets them in, and as soon as the strangers enter their home, uncanny and inexplicable things start happening. And when Charlie suddenly vanishes, Eve slowly loses her grip on reality. Something is terribly wrong with the house and with the visiting family, or is it Eve just imagining things? So this book was sold as a 5-star, as a sure 5-star read by most people that talk about this book. I came into this thinking that it was going to be horror that kind of distincts itself from everything else, but I didn't really have that experience. Unfortunately, I gave this book a 3.75 stars, which is not that great realistically compared to the 5-star review that I've seen, 5-star reviews that I've seen. So unfortunately, I found this story very, very hollow. I think that there are too many plot holes for this to be considered complete, and that could not possibly let me enjoy this, especially towards the ending. I did like most of what I read, and I must admit it gave me a lot of times where I had to audibly gasp, but realistically the plot line was just filled with holes, and I personally cannot get past that. As for this novel, I did manage to use this for 2 prompts, which the first one was, of course, the trope tracker, because I think hidden identity is essentially what makes this book. So hidden identity, which brings us, let me count, 5 out of 9. And the second prompt I used this book for, the blurb challenge, which prompts you to read 3 books which basically are blurbed by the previous person. So We Used to Live Here is gonna be the first one, and then I'm gonna read a second book which was blurbed by the author of We Used to Live Here, and then again I'm gonna read a third book which was blurbed by the second author's book, which I think I'm gonna keep a secret for now. As soon as I finish, I will update you what books these are, because I did plan them out. So that brings us to the end of this video, of this wrap up. I am pretty satisfied with what I read this month, and I also do want to show the progress of the whole board and the completion of the readathon participation, because you were supposed to participate in another one, and I did this month with the tarot readathon of 2026, and also my personal goal, which ranks up to, I'm pretty sure, 35 out of 60. I need to double check that. But other than that, I am really excited for what's coming next, because I have a lot of really nice reads that already happened in July, so I can't wait to talk to you about them. And so I hope you stick around for them and meet me next time. Bye.